everything's sounding okay, let me know if... Hey boy up north, what's your actual name? Hey Jim, I'm playing some overrated gear. So I'm trying a different setup tonight completely. Sheesh. You're a patron, aren't you? Right, let me just pause this a sec. Hey Keith. Right, let me just explain what's going on here then. Give me a minute. Let's switch back to here. Hello. Pause this. So right now you're hearing me play a Mesa Boogie Fillmore 50 for the first time on the channel, I think. So I've got a condenser mic set up with that cab in the corner, a Mesa Boogie cab. I guess you might have seen I did that video earlier on. Sounds like I'm playing through 2 pieces of bread. Yep, buttery. So yeah, I wanted to try and do like a live stream with an actual amp and see if that's any different. Yeah, wait till Gibson get their hands on them. Could go 2 ways, I guess, couldn't it? But I saw Rhett did a stream on it last night, and he said that he's going to potentially do a video on Mesa Boogies, and I decided I'd beat him to it because I actually love Mesa Boogie amps. So that was sort of my letter to Mesa Boogie, I guess. Letter? Something. Apparently the stream is low quality at the moment. Anyway, so that's what's going on. You're hearing that, and I'm boosting it with J-Rocket for overdrive at the moment, but here's just the clean. Hopefully that sounds okay. Yeah. So kind of a classic spanky clean. This isn't my Captor X is with a friend at the moment. So you know the PRS that I used on your video, Keith. That PRS belonged to a guy called Tony, who lives near me. You can probably see the film better from this angle. So I'm using a real mic. It's just a condenser mic right in front of the cab. So. To me, that's kind of just a really sparkly, clean tone, which is kind of one of the things that I like. Oh, and also, look, check this out, we can do this. So let's think about scales, what I'm playing over the chords I play. So, right, if we actually want to talk about theory, the reverb is from, here's the reverb from just the amp. Hold on. So yeah, that's the reverb from the amp. And then I've also got, for the first time, a Walrus Audio Fathom here, doing that stuff. So that's kind of what's going on tone-wise. Right, so if we want to talk about what I'm thinking of, I've tried to talk about this a few times, but what it really comes back to is kind of I used to play piano. That was where I started. Hey Brian, yeah. So the reason that I put the compressors after the drives sometimes is that they sound a bit different and they kind of feel a bit different. That's the reason for it. And I think it kind of makes it feel a little bit less spiky and maybe a bit more like a real pedal. That's the reason for that. So when I'm playing piano or any music really, generally I just think in terms of what is the home key of where I'm at. And so at the back of my head is probably, or the foundation of what I do is like classical theory. So what that probably means is like if you're playing in C, I keep in mind what all of the kind of functions are. So like C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor. And so that's kind of basically what's going on in my head when I'm playing. So I'm thinking like chord 4, chord 2, F, G, A minor. So I'm thinking about what are the available chords, and then if I'm playing, that's also basically what I'm doing. My favourite cadence, probably plagal. Or like a plagal cadence, but in an inversion, I think sounds really nice. I don't find that the modes thing is as useful as, I think it's like one of the last things that is potentially useful. And the way that I can sort of explain it, which may only make sense to me, no, it's not an actual Rhodes, this is just Kurzweil, cheap thing. So in terms of modes, unless you're playing like a static groove kind of thing, then generally I don't really think about modes particularly. So instead of that, so when I'm playing something like, this might sound like I'm thinking of a certain mode. Like that might sound like I'm thinking of a mode, but actually I'm just thinking about playing a C major, but it's the 4 of chord G. If that makes sense. Used to live in Sheringham. Nice. So I guess if you were thinking in like a fusion sense, then it might make sense to jump between modes, but in general pop music there's not a massive use for modes, I find. For most of the time you can just explain things as being related to a key, is what I find anyway. So that's why I don't really think about modes too much unless I have to. Can't really get over here because it's got a lead in the way. I need to reset up this stuff really. Looking at arpeggios in the chords, yeah, maybe triads. Maybe specifically kind of targeting the notes that I think sound good, which tend to be like 7s and 9s and 3rds. That's kind of what I think about when I'm playing, I guess. If I'm playing jazz, then I'm thinking about where is home for each single kind of chord. if it's changing around a lot. But yeah, that's generally my approach, if that makes sense. Feel free to ask any more questions. All I wanted to do was just a quick hangout and kind of talk about stuff. Maybe if you haven't already subscribed, it'd be cool if you could. We're trying to get to something. Sounds like a Mike Post TV show theme. I should probably zoom in a bit so I can actually read this stuff. Yeah, so feel free to jump in with any questions and stuff. I'll just play around and stuff. So I guess that might help someone to make sense of why I think like I do. The piano kind of is where the foundation of a lot of my theory stuff came from. Favorite alterations for 5 chords. This one. That's not even one, is it? I don't know, let me think. Wait, that's not even the right pedal. Hold on. Favorite alterations for 5 chords. This is the Walrus Audio thing. How do I practice that? Practice what? Ooh, nice. I wish I could get hold of a train wreck so I could help out. No, I'd love to be involved with that, but I can't. I haven't got a train wreck, have I? I love the sound of those amps. Looking forward to that video, Keith. Oh, so my favourite kind of 5 chord is that, I think. Oh, nice. Enjoy. Good luck with the pickups. Yeah, Comet, nice. And a Z-Rec, nice. I was considering trying to get a Z-Rec, but I'm not a big enough person to get one. Can I recommend a good book plus audio package for scales and chords? If I knew one, I would. Hey Des, how you doing? For theory stuff, I think ABRSM is pretty good, but I don't know if that's going to cover things in a guitaristic enough way. But that's where I kind of got my theory stuff from, mostly. Practice ascending in thirds. What was the video about? Do you mean this? In which case what I'm doing is I'm practicing going up the scale in intervals. So I've got, there's the root, and then there's the third, then there's the second and the fourth, third and fifth. Does that make sense? Fourth, that sort of. So you could do that kind of thing, or maybe I meant something like this. What telly are you going to get? I missed something from Brighton there? I've used them at the end of the chain. Yeah, I don't put compressors at the end of the chain because I don't want things to sound too, what's the word, kind of produced. Like generally, if I'm playing guitar, like an amp doesn't have a compressor after it, if you get what I mean. So that's why I wouldn't put it at the end of a helix chain. I know there are people that do that, but for me I don't find it necessary. Those rev stars are very easy to sell. Do I ever mess with the bias? Not really. Those parameters don't seem to do an awful lot to me, and generally I find they sound okay where they are, if that makes sense. Sometimes I turn the sag up. Yeah, that's exactly right, Connor. So the other thing to do with that, I guess you could try it with fourths, if that makes sense. So you get a 1, 4, 2, 5, that kind of thing. Get in the game. Oh, probably orgy etiquette. Well, I don't know. As I say, I was late to the orgy. You'd have to ask Brett and Rabia. They got there very early. Ones and zeros at the beginning of my Should You Build Your Own Guitar video. That would have just been something improvised, as all of the videos are. Hey Jason, hope you're doing well. I'll see you in a little bit. So yeah, this is my first time playing through the Fillmore 50 in front of anyone. Actually, I think Jake's the only person who's heard anything through it, me playing. And then you could do fifths through the scale as well, Connor. I guess generally the way you're going to probably start with this stuff is in like root position, so you might do it in A major. But eventually I guess the goal would be to be able to move that around the neck, so here's it in A major but starting from a D. And that went spectacular. So that kind of thing. Favourite standards? That was supposed to be So What. That one I like. My favourite things. That one I really like. What a Difference a Day Made. Hey, use that Dan Smith guy. loaded for bare cables are cool, and he's from Britain and a really nice guy, and yeah, so the thing is, like, a cable, in some ways it's a cable. I used to use like Fender ones and Planet Waves and stuff, and although they got a lifetime guarantee, like, you have to use it because they break. So that was why I was like, well, I'll try and find a cable company with like a real person who kind of get on with. So yeah, they look really cool as well, I think, which is obviously the most important thing. Any more thoughts? Alright, the delays in the Stomp versus the Strymon gear. So, is it really necessary? Probably not. But I feel like there is a little, like, there's a difference. Yes, I think most people who have got a Strymon thing will probably tell you that. Obviously, it's a much easier job to just do one thing at a time. Like a delay, you know, is just a delay. I don't have a cap, Connor. It's actually a beanie, bro. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it, and hopefully it'll be okay to do stuff with it ironically one day. But it's not today. What was I talking about? Other favourite standards. My Foolish Heart. That kind of tune. When I Fall in Love, I really like. Yeah, there's lots of really cool standards. I think check out Chet Baker for some really good ones. Oh yeah, I Fall in Love Too Easily. Ugh, sorry, can't play. I don't have too many thoughts on the Kingsley pedals, Andrew. I've only played the Page, which was Jake's. I borrowed that for a bit. It's definitely doing some cool stuff. I found it a little bit bright with single coils, but I didn't really have a terribly long time with it, so I don't really have any valid thing to say about it. Yeah. Other standards that I like. It's like loads. What a Difference a Day Made. Where are we at now? If there was an excuse for them to have me on, maybe you'd have to ask Phoebe and Dan, but it was just nice to be involved. Yeah, I've got a lifetime ban now on account of some of the things that I said. Although Jake should be banned as well for some of the stuff that was said, and because of the truckers. Is there a place to listen to my music? Yeah, you could hear me on Mark Kelly's Marathon, or you could search for John Cordy, and I'm on Spotify and Bandcamp, and there's bits and pieces on that, or you could just check stuff out on YouTube. That's mostly where my creative stuff, such as it is. How do you work on rhythm? So rhythm, things like just playing along with a click, I would find. The Squire J Mascis is all stock, yes. How good is it? It's pretty good for the money, I would say. There are some days where I don't love it, but most days that I play it, it's got enough of a vibe that it brings something different. The pickups are very bright compared to like a normal. What headphones am I working with? I've got what are they called? Mass Drop. I can't remember which ones they are. They're Sennheiser. Is it 650s? The slightly cheaper one. I can't remember exactly. Maybe HD 650s. How to modulate from a major key to the minor in the same key. So the key would be to find a pivot chord, I guess. So I'll remember you specifically, CC, when I'm famous on the internet. I think I almost was yesterday. So we've got an A minor, A major stuff, yeah? So maybe you'd find somewhere to pivot in and out of A major. So two approaches, right? So A major, so modulate around the fifth. So in that case, I was going from A major to E dominant 7 to A minor. And then back. That's one way to do it. Or, so you're in A major and you want to imply that you're moving to C major, you could just use an F kind of Lydian. Does that make sense? So that's like you could just pivot from a chord that is from the A minor. So we're in A major, then you could use like a D minor and back. That's a way that you could do it. I guess we could also do like a maybe you could move from like the flat 2, go from the major to A major with a 13 chord. So you can do basically anything around a dominant. There aren't really particular rules to it, but the things that I find I like the sound of would be just moving and using a chord from that A minor key that you like the sound of. So like that F. To me, I like the sound of that kind of movement. Rick has actually played with Rolf when he was a young boy. Is that what you're saying, Rick? Rick was my music tech teacher. Can I also do the same on guitar? I can do. So I'll give you a freeze. Or I won't. So we're in A major effectively, then F, and then A minor. then there's a G, and then there's an A. So moving chromatically between the two keys is a good thing. New techniques of picking. Hybrid picking is a useful thing that people seem to do a lot of these days. Hold on, I'm just gonna so like maybe you take arpeggios, so you've got your A major, then you could just jump to the C major, does that make sense? My top 3 favourite guitarists, Eric Johnson, Jonathan Kreisberg, I don't know, those 2 will do for now. Gary Moore. Yeah, are things bad again today, or have they gone a bit closer to normal? Hey, Krenna. Oh, sorry, Gareth. So, what's going on here? I've got the Mesa Boogie Fillmore going into a Mesa Boogie wide body cab, and that's being captured by Origin Spirit microphone, and then that's going into an audio, what's the word, mic pre, and then into a compressor, and then that's going into my Steinberg UR RT4. Does that answer the question? Oh, and this is a K-line. Oh, and then there's other pedals on the floor. Yeah, I think Gary Moore's probably one of the favourites. Favourite chord progression? I don't really... Maybe... That's not worked, has it? For someone, I do use a Podgo. Hey, I know who you are, TCM. I appreciate your work. The thoughts over the HX Stomp, I would say for anyone who's considering buying either of those at the moment, we're about to have NAMM, and I don't know if anything's going to happen, but things could change in the gear world fairly quickly, fairly soon, I think. So maybe pause on any ideas. This was a... Did I buy a second K-line? The buttery one, yeah, there was a second one. And there's an insult from Rory there, saying it surprised me how few subs there. Cheers. Yeah, it was A Child Is Born, played awfully. I think we have a mutual friend, but I'm not supposed to divulge that. I don't have anything freezy for the Kemper, no. Maybe it would be possible. There's the freeze function in the things, which isn't quite the same thing, but... yeah, I sold my Headrush gig board because I was reading about... The grey one is the one that has a roasted fretboard and stainless steel frets, right? Yeah, likewise the King Tone Octaland mini video, that would have just been me improvising something. No, I'm only joking, Rory. Things are picking along nicely on the forum on the channel, and I don't generally tend to offend too many people and get people stopping by in the comments and saying stupid stuff. So I'm kind of happy where I'm at, and I just get to play guitar, so it's okay. I can afford to buy anything that I really want to buy, if that makes sense. Yeah, that sounds beautiful. So what colour grey is it? And is there any chance you could email me a picture of it? I'm hoping it'll be way before Easter, Paul. I'm nearly there now. If you chaps would just subscribe. I feel like there's got to be some stuff coming at NAMM, right? Maybe. There's got to be some things. What are we dealing with here? But also Rhett's got an incredible production sensibility, so it's like I can't really compete with that because my stuff looks naff in comparison. That's cool. How are you liking the JPC 2C? Yeah, I can't think of a delay that does anything quite like the timeline. Obviously there's other bits and pieces that do stuff. Does anything really do, like, I know it's old, but for me it feels like it's like just a modern classic anyway. Cheers, Connor. Stay safe. So, ones and zeros asks, if I was to use something like an HX Stomp as the basis of your sound, which I do a lot of the time, would I use a clean guitar amp or something like a small PA system? Hey Alec. So, two approaches to this. One is that you could use something like either a power cab or a full range flat response monitor. So, the power cab I've not tried at a gig, so I can't really give a proper opinion on that yet. I have done what you're suggesting. Well, I've also tried an FR cab, and that's a thing, but it's not necessarily feel great. It's fine. But in my experience, I've not really been doing that often, because generally when I'm using an HX Stomp now, I've also got to take a PA with me, or this was, like a year ago or whatever. But I've also done the thing where you play like an HX Stomp or a Kemper alongside, a real amp, and that's really awesome. So yeah, I do want to see that. Of course I do. The Digitech stuff, they've also got some that reverb. What's their reverb? That's supposedly Lexicon thingy bobs algorithms, so that's super cool as well. But yeah, the Digitech stuff, I hear good things about. I think my first pedal was a Digitech Bad Monkey, or one of my first. Is the timeline a keeper? Yeah, I think so. So if I was going to do a live gig now, would I set up a rig using the Stomp? Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really come up with a very good answer. But so depending on the gig, so if I've got to go direct to a PA, then I'm going to be taking a modeler of some sort, and generally that's going to be an HX Stomp. If I'm doing a pub gig, I'll be taking just an amp, or a cafe or whatever. If that makes sense. So, if I'm playing with a drummer and bassist in like a jam situation, I'll take a Mesa Boogie. So I've taken a California Tweed a few times this year. Last year, when was it? Whenever the gigs were. Um, so yeah, that's if I'm taking a California Tweed. I've taken, you know, a pedal or two. I think I did some gigs last year with the Fuchs 4 Aces. Yeah. So, ever done any busking in Norwich? That's a no from me, sir. I have been to Norwich, I think, working in a hospital. What do I think is the best way to listen to your Helix at home? So, the main thing about home use is that you don't necessarily need to be crazy loud. So, most of the time I'm using JBL LSR 305s, and I'm pretty happy with those. So, studio monitors can be a good thing, I think. Does anyone else expect an expansion upon the Iridium in the coming year or so? So I would have been hoping that, except people tell me that Strymon never really update anything from a functionality point of view. So that makes me think probably that's not going to happen, if that makes sense. How old am I? I'm 31. How do I feel about Gibson acquiring Mesa Boogie? Who knows? It's a bit early to tell, isn't it, in a way? I guess for the moment it will be kind of business as usual. But over the next kind of couple of years, maybe that's turns out to be a good thing, or maybe it doesn't. But yeah. But I was thinking about it when I was making that video today, right? So I did a video earlier on about the kind of history of Mesa Boogie, which I just got an idea to do, and so I just quickly did some research and put together some clips of my playing of the Mesa Boogie amps that I have. And I thought, are there any Mesa Boogie amps that I've not played that I would want to, or is there anything that I feel is missing? Then the answer is not really. So if they never made an amp again, I'm kind of happy with what I've got. I'm kind of happy with what Mesa Boogie brought to the table, if that makes sense. So they've had a very good run. So if things don't go well with Gibson, then that's fine. Yeah, the thing is, for me, Mesa Boogie sits in this space where they're sort of seen as expensive, but then to something like compared to like a 2-Rock, they're actually really cheap in comparison, sort of like half the price. Mesa Boogie. That's Jim's joke, by the way. He wanted me to tell you that. And also, like, there's this feeling that there's the the Mesa Boogies are kind of a metal kind of brand. You've got a Mark IIA, unbelievable. Yeah, I'm sure it's really cool. The Mesa Mark III I got midway through this year, and I really enjoy it. Yeah, they had a good run. I said it, but yeah, like TCM says, things could just carry on as normal for Mesa. I think Gibson bought them, from what Rhett was saying, because they may have a view to making some kind of older style amps, and that would make sense, I guess. You know, if Gibson were to reissue some of their classic designs, they would probably need someone who can make amps if they were going to do it like an American made. I have never been to anywhere in America. Yeah, Gareth, I think there's plenty of people that are big fans of 2-Rock, but yeah, like, they're not cheap amps, and you know, you're talking about sort of three grand-ish, and on the second-hand market, they hold their value quite well. Whereas Mesa Boogies you can get for good prices on the second-hand market, and by the way, that's where I get most of my stuff, which is why I've got a few Mesa Boogies, because over the years I've kind of just picked them up occasionally. It's not like one day I just suddenly went out and bought loads of Mesa Boogies, if that's what it appears like. Which 2-Rocks do you have, TCM? I think there's also an argument about what what amps should be expensive versus not, and for me, what Mesa Boogie do with most of their amps, they pack quite a lot in there. You might have 3 channels or whatever. So relative to something like a deluxe reverb or something like that, or an older classic design reissue, I think the Mesa Boogies also hold up in terms of value there as well. How many Boogies do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6. So I've got the Nomad from when I was 17. The Electrodyne I got ages ago as well. Yeah, the Blue Angel I got this year, and the Mark III. I've got this Fillmore as well because I wanted to try and make some videos and do a comparison with the California Tweed. Classic reverb, nice. So, what are you doing with if you're using the HX Stomp for everything and not just effects, then I think the HX Stomp is great. If you're just using it for delays and reverbs, then maybe a Strymon or something like that would be useful. But I think it depends what you're doing with it, Gareth, so just let me know what you're doing. I can't sight read perfectly at all, no. And did I go to music college? No. I did 2 years at university, but it was useless. So you've got the Express 550, Thomas. TCM makes the argument that a guitar... See, the thing is, though, you can get guitars that are cheap that are still great, I feel like the Sire S7. Yeah, AC10 seems like a really useful amp. Right, shall I try and play something? Yeah, Andy Timmons is a great Mesa Boogie player, and I think has done a lot to kind of take their reputation out of like the metal side of things. Let me know if these levels get all screwy. I'm guessing you're going to hear the real amp through the camera as well. Does it sound screwy? Classic vibe, I think. the chances are as well that the bass is going to be clipping a little bit, because a real amp tends to chuck out quite a lot more bass. I can play piano badly whilst doing it as well. I think also it's kind of a personal thing depending on how fast you wear down frets. Some people wear them down quite a lot quicker than others. At some stage this K line is going to need some work done, and that's going to be a sad day. But that's one of the nice thing about having kind of other cheaper guitars around, is that I can maybe pretend that I don't have to wear this one out so much. But so does anyone have any thoughts on how the Fillmore is sounding? Does it sound decent? You can get those Harley Benton guitars. Some of them I think are probably good. I know Johan likes his. I think it's a tiny bit hit and miss, but kind of isn't everything guitars. Yeah, exactly. Harley Benton's are tricky to find. Can't think of really anyone who uses stainless frets in like the lower end of the market consistently. Ibanez Premiums. So, for the love of God music, saying that he likes something about the amp tone and mics. So the interesting thing about that, I guess, and maybe it's interesting, there was no EQ on any of those, and the only thing that was going on there was just whatever was on the mastering track. So that was kind of as close to nothing that you can hear. Which wasn't always the experience that I had recording amps, but what I found is that just using a condenser mic in front of the cone for me works better than anything else, and it gives me kind of a neutral sounding guitar tone, whereas if you move it kind of away from the cone, I start to hear things that I don't necessarily like. So that was a massive breakthrough for me. Cheers, Rory. Favourite Bee Gees song? That one. that chunk. I can't think of how the rest of the tune goes. Is the keyboard sound a plugin? No, this is just coming from the Kurzweil. I tried doing the plugin thing because I would use the Native Instruments, but there was no way to get it to work without latency, and it just threw my timing off even more than it would already be. The moment the mic is as close as I can get it, which is probably about that far away from the thingy bob. Send it back to K-Line, have them refret it. I think that would be prohibitively expensive. But I've got, I know Seth from Seth Backus Guitars, maybe he would do it. We're not in refret territory. Which condenser did I use from the vid? So it's the condenser. Can you see it in the background there? Hold on. You can see it in the back there, and that should show you roughly the distance, but it's about that far away, maybe, because that's as close as I can get it with that particular mic stand. It's an Aston Spirit. So you don't need Superior Drummer and Native Instruments if you're going to go one way or the other. Superior Drummer is... What do you need for that? You just need Superior Drummer, right? Or you can think of doing both. But if you do go down a Native Instruments route, there's really good drum sounds on there already. So yeah. Right, any further questions about anything? If anyone's watching who hasn't subscribed yet, I'd appreciate it if you would. I'm not going to be too desperate about it. Is this live guitar amp thing, should we do more of that or not? I don't know if it works so well when we're actually playing with the track, but let me know, give me some feedback back. How do I record the bass for the backing tracks? I don't use a real bass, no, I use Reactor, it's called. Okay, so if this works, okay, I could do it a bit more often. We could maybe talk about... So it's not crazy loud in the room or anything, so I can do this, but the main thing was I hoped it would sound okay and translate. I'll try and play along with the backing. Let me know if it just doesn't work or not. This one was kind of a fun groove. Ooh, sorry, I'll answer that before. Favourite Edge of Breakup boost? I use Reaper, by the way. Try Fullerton Normal and Fullerton Bright, and use the heir apparent or the Timmy is what I would say works quite nicely. I think I quite like the sound of those. So it's reactor. So A-Camp, a cool thing, I literally this morning, or this afternoon, whenever it was, an Ibanez SD9 arrived in the post, so I don't know whether I'll probably do some stuff with that at some point. This is... Gareth, I think that it sounds to me like he's using real stuff there. He'd be using a J-Rocket Holdsworth and a Ibanez SD9, which there is a Hedgehog D9. So, I don't know, does this sound okay? I've got it. I think it's got the same chips as a TS10, right? I mean, where is it? It's here. It's right here. No, I can find some bad notes for you. Right, let's do a bad take. I'll play some deliberately bad stuff. Yeah, Daniel, you get the, basically you just keep hold of the email and you can come back for the new presets, or just email me again for them. Right, anyway, that's that. Maybe I need to upload that backing track to Patreon because it's quite a fun one. Yeah, so that Ibanez SD9, I'll probably try and do a video on it at some point. I know Michael Landau uses one. Sorry. Hit us with a Jimmy Herring outside lick. Who's Jimmy Herring? I should probably know that, shouldn't I? Could be embarrassing. Oh, Gareth asked, what's my usage of the HX Stomp Helix? Is it for convenience? In a way. So, I don't know if you've gotten any experience of like recording with a real amp and a mic, but sometimes you record a thing and you can't really tell in the room necessarily what it sounds like. So for me, that slows things down quite a big way. If that makes sense. Yeah, so you end up then recording a thing and potentially what actually the result could sound awful, whereas I know when I record with an HX Stomp or a Helix, I know that it's going to sound like what it sounds like, if that makes sense, and I don't waste a take or whatever. Do you guys line or instrument level directly into an interface, so the RT4, but if it's not sounding quite right, who knows? What am I also saying? So the way that I recorded that, it'd be interesting to know how it sounds, or what your experience is with that actual preset. It's a bit of a weird preset in general, isn't it? But I was finding it's, depending on what pickups you're using, it might be quite hot, if that makes sense. So you may want to kind of back off the gain and stuff like that, and maybe mess around with the mix of some of the stuff. But yeah, it was recorded directly into my interface, so hopefully it should sound similar. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason that I use the Stomp and the Helix a lot of the time. There's also things that I can do with the Helix or a Stomp that I can't really do with a real amp, you know, like a lot of the looping, freezing bits and pieces. Yeah, so I use it for convenience, for it being quiet, or more quiet than a real amp, and also because I find it quite inspiring. Right, anyway, so I think I'm going to have to go now and eat some food. Thank you everyone for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed yet, that would be handy if you would. If you could like the video as well, I guess that helps other people find it if they needed to. hopefully this sounds okay. I've listened back and see whether it worked or didn't, but no one's told me it sounded really awful yet, so hopefully it sounds okay. But yeah, that's the first live stream with a real amp, so that's kind of a thing.